What else? Oh, I wanted to ask you about, while we were talking about the books of elsewhere, I wanted to ask you about Olive Dunwoody, because something I've noticed, and now that we're talking about your other books as well, it strikes me as kind of a pattern. One of my favorite things about that book is that Olive is just so clearly a left brain thinker, and both their parents are mathematicians, so there's that automatic tension between them that they're just not quite speaking the same language. And now we're talking about the collectors, where you've got a child who can't hear with a mother who's deeply involved in music. We were talking about the botanist parents that are decidedly different from your main character in Digging Up Danger. Is that a conscious choice, or is that just kind of coming up every time?
Oh, I know. I noticed that for myself thinking about book 6 or 7, where I realized, yeah, this seems to be my MO in everything I do. I'm sure my parents would have something to say about that, but I don't think I set out to do it consciously. However, the idea of children who don't feel like they fit into their own world, that's a constant for me. That certainly was my own experience. And so often it's their own families that kids feel they don't quite fit with. Maybe not in some, cruel way. Their parents are there and they're loving, and maybe they haven't. I mean, there's the tendency in a lot of middle grade fiction to have the parents die, so you've got that, that entire framework out of the way, so your kid can have their adventure all on their own. In the case of my books, I wanted to do less of that, not to follow the dead parent trope, to have the parents there, but to still be so much in their own world that they don't quite overlap with some of the adventures that their children are having. So yeah, I guess now it's a bit more conscious than it used to be, but at first it certainly wasn't. But yeah, it's something that I do like to explore, having a child who sees the world very differently from the people around them. And that's my other big theme in pretty much everything I do. My main characters very often see or hear or notice things that the people around them don't notice. And that is what draws them into the adventure that changes their life. So, yeah.
Well, that makes sense. I know that now that I'm midway through the third Banneker Bones book, I also wanted to avoid the dead parent trope. So I've got 2 sets of parents that I kept alive. And now in book 3, I'm having some additional plot complications like, dead parents. That doesn't sound so bad anymore. That simplifies things a little bit.
Yep, it starts to look like a really handy thing to do.
And of course, anytime you've got 2 or more characters interacting for more than a couple of chapters, you've got to have some conflict there. So I'm sure it helps to have that already baked in.
Yes, I think both conflict and humor. Like, I love that Olive's parents are so in love with math. Like, to them, it's just the most romantic thing. I love that when a lamp shatters and her mother can count the pieces lying on the rug without even, taking it more than a couple of seconds, and her husband, Olive's father, is so smitten by this. I love that, and that's just them. And I wanted to set it up specifically that way in the books of Elsewhere because I knew the house was going to be all about magic and about art magic, while I wanted her parents to have their own kind of very different magic. So for them, it's math magic, which to me just felt like 2 completely separate spheres, things that both have their own internal logic, a way that they work, but never overlap. So they're, just the Venn diagram where the 2 circles don't touch. That's Olive and her parents.